Oh my, it's noon on Monday, December 20th. Zach's just limbering up. And this is news that you can use from YAA with your two favorite hosts, Zach and Ray.
How you doing this morning, Pops? I know it's early afternoon, but still, how you doing?
Well, this morning I was much better than I am early afternoon. No, I'm doing great.
So, Pops, as you and I have been covering for a long time, aka our entire adult lives, we know that all good things have to come to an end, right? Like our Arizona Cardinals football team, they were good. That came to an end. Our happiness, it inevitably comes to an end. What I'm getting at here, Dad,
Yeah.
is the chip shortage. I think it's coming to an end. We're going to jump into that in just a moment. Let's do first and foremost, let's welcome everyone that's joining us. Jordan's here with us. Carvana and Rivian taking big losses on the stock market today. Yeah, we'll comment on that just a little bit. How's that sound, Dad?
Oh, I'd love that.
Diesel Tech's with us. Strategic Services, I like that username.
Yeah.
With us as well. Justice, always great to see you. Phil as well. Igor, happy to have you here with us too. Tozik, we got Tozik in the house as well. But yeah, Pops, I wanted to talk to you. I think the chip shortage news, it's good, yeah?
Yes. This is, I think, 3 or 4 weeks in a row that the chip shortage news is well, good. Not great, but good. And what's good about it is that what is it? Automotive Forecast Solutions? Is that who it is?
Auto Forecast Solutions. Yep, we track their data every week.
Yes, they actually week over week have shown a decline in the expected loss of production for this year. Not by a lot, but this is the first week where they have shown that there actually will be more cars produced, 16,000 more, than what they had initially projected for the year. Now, 16,000, that's not even one per franchise dealer in this country, but it's a start. So, yes, it's good news for the short term. The long term is that the chip shortage isn't anywhere near over. That will, according to Boston Consulting Group, that should continue right through 2022, 23, 24, and be totally mitigated by 2025.
Which, with those long-term projections, who actually knows what's going to happen? But let's pull it up on the screen just so that everyone can look at the numbers here for a second. And I even saw some chat messages that were saying people are seeing more cars on dealer lots. This is back on the website, joinya.com/guides-chip-shortage every single week. We're updating it here. Okay. So back in September, 3 months ago, the projected number of vehicles lost due to the chip shortage, this comes from Auto Forecast Solutions, was 9.436 million vehicles. So that was in the year 2021. They thought 9.436 million vehicles were not going to be produced.
That had been scheduled to be produced.
Yes. Yeah. And we know, just to be clear, we know that number is now upwards of like 10.5 million. We don't keep track of that right here. We keep track of the projection because that's a better indicator of like what's going to happen in the future. Going up. Some of the biggest week over week increases, like back in the beginning of October, when we were putting out videos talking about how the chip shortage is only get worse. Don't shoot the messenger. It was just back-to-back weeks of over 250,000 cars getting taken out of production was the expectation. Now, look
as somebody once said, chips happen.
Yeah. Look at the past month, Dad.
Yes.
All the way back to November 22nd, 22,000 vehicles was the increase in the estimated total loss for the year. 0 new vehicles lost for the year. 39,000, up a little bit, but not that high. 1,200. And then this week, there you go. It's the first negative number we've ever seen since starting this track. We're starting to see, and I think the reason that we titled today's stream the way that we did, Dad, the chip shortage is kind of maybe over. Maybe, in the sense of like the worst of the chip shortage.
Okay, yeah, but knowing you came up with a clickbaity title that didn't say the worst of the chip shortage is probably over. You probably just said the chip shortage is over. It's not. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not. The projection for next year is that they will still fall somewhere between 7 million and 8 million vehicles short of what they had intended to produce because of the chip shortage and other supply chain issues. The projection is that there will be a shortfall in 2023 and a smaller shortfall in 2024. So the worst of the chip shortage is probably over, but the chip shortage itself is, I dare say, a long way from over.
Comment from Space here in the chat. One of the companies that has been faring best, you could say, during the chip shortage and all the car shortage issues.
Except for September and October, yeah.
Yep. Toyota, and Mario here in the chat saying my local Toyota dealer in Southern California received the largest shipment of cars since the shortage started earlier this year. That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome. Yes.
And yeah, let's pull it up, Pops, and take a quick peek at it. This comes from our friends over at Boston Consulting Group. We don't have any friends over there, but it was posted on LinkedIn and I found it, and it's really great material. So here's BCG's expectation.
May I say something?
Yeah.
If they were to know us, they would be our friends.
I know Martha, who posted this. She's very
okay.
nice, and she's been a nice advisor to us. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she works at BCG. She used to. Anyway, all right. This year, 10 million units lost. That's what we were just talking about before, but the projection is up to a little over 11. And you can see we're talking about good news because the projection's gone down from like 11.326 million to 11.09 million. Still next year, the expectation is we're going to lose 7 to 8 million vehicles from production because of the chip shortage, then 4 million in 2023, 1 million in 2024, and then back to parity in 2025. Part of this, let me actually go back here, Pops, because this is really fascinating. You remember we were looking at this. It costs more money, and there are more chips in EVs than there are in traditional vehicles. So the ADAS and AD, that's like autonomous driving functionality. So cars that don't have that cost way less in our semiconductor costs than vehicles that have autonomous driving functionality, considerably more. What if they're a plug-in hybrid or an electric vehicle with autonomous driving functionality? Then it's a heck of a lot more. So like the chip demands are growing as we're moving towards more of an EV and AV world. That's also partly driving this chart. So even if we are in a position where there's more supply, we actually need even more to manufacture the vehicles that we're becoming more interested in.
Yes.
So that's the lay of the land on the chip shortage front. It's better, but it's not completely,
No, it's over. I saw a headline somewhere. It's over. Let's celebrate.
We're gonna be talking to Jared and Laura, Jared Kalfas and Laura Wehunt from Black Book tomorrow. I didn't want to preclude us from talking a little bit today about what's going on in the used car market, Dad, because last week on Friday, I wasn't able to join you, but we had this headline come out from Kelley Blue Book. Average used car price tops 27,000 for the first time ever. I'm kind of wondering if, like, now that we're through the worst, it seems, of the chip shortage piece, will used cars start to come down in price a little bit? And the reason I bring that up, Dad, is because there's this subheading here: inventory starting to build. America's used car dealers had 2.31 million vehicles available for sale at the end of November. That number holds important news for car shoppers. They ended October with 2.25 million. So the number of vehicles in inventory is kind of starting to go up just a little bit.
A tiny bit. Tiny bit.
But it's signaling to me that we might have some opportunity on both the chip shortage side and on the used car side. Like, the worst, I think, is behind us. Knock on wood on both fronts. We get the latest data from Black Book tomorrow. That'll be a good indicator. And Jared and Laura's take will be a good indication as well.
And I would love to get their take on what they think, say, the future holds through the first quarter of 2022. I don't put as much stock in that slightly elevated increase of used car inventory as maybe you might. It is still significant. The inventory levels are still significantly below what they were last year at this time, and majorly below what they were 2 years ago at this time. And there still doesn't seem to be any shortage of buyers. So I don't really
I think that's partly why the inventory levels might be going back up then. I think there is like a beginning to be a shortage of buyers. Like we're starting to see cars sit a little bit longer than before.
Okay, well, we're about to get into the busiest week of the year. Busiest week of the year. Okay? And and that will all change from the week from Christmas to New Year's. By the way, may I share a story with you real quickly that
Please.
has a lot to do with sales? So I talked to my good buddy Glenn Bob yesterday, our good buddy Glenn Bob,
Yeah, I love Glenn.
and
He's a good guy.
yeah, and so his dealership sets sales objectives for each salesperson, and Glenn's objective for this month, I believe, is 17 units, and
New and
so he
used?
so yeah, new and used, and so he got called. Well, yeah, mostly used because they have 208 used cars in stock and 30 new.
Wow.
Okay, but a lot of the stuff they have coming in is pre-sold. So Glenn got called out because he only has they say he only has 6 cars sold, and Glenn said no, I've got 24 cars sold. And they said, well, yeah, but the board only shows you with 6. He said, well, I sold the hell out of those other 24. It's not my fault the 18 people didn't buy them. He said, but I really sold those sons of guns. It's just the people didn't move forward just yet. Which I promised Glenn I would bring that up in today's show.
Yeah.
But it's so true. I mean, a salesman is always, or a salesperson is
Yeah.
always selling. Whether or not the consumer is always buying is a different question altogether.
And
So
Igor here in the chat saying new car sales demand had not slowed down. It's the used cars that are being slow to sell. Used cars tend to sit on dealers' lots a little bit longer now. And so I guess on the new car side, yeah, there's still no inventory. So they're still just
no.
flying up the shelves. But it does seem like on the used car side, I mean, and this is a bit anecdotal as well, like what I'm reading in the chats, what I'm seeing in the
Yes.
community forum, like I think used cars are starting to sit, which also makes a little bit of sense because it's rougher cars that are being offered up for sale. And to Glenn's point about, he's selling the hell out of them, like more power to him. But eventually you got to actually move the metal off a lot to get paid.
Yes.
Like no one's getting paid. The issue is, excuse me, not the issue, but like the challenge that someone like Glenn or I think other salespeople are going to have is just making sure they get people approved for financing on those things, and that's becoming a little bit easier. Like we talked about a bit last week. Like there's all sorts of articles out about how there's loosening of credit requirements across the board to get people into loans so that they can do 70-month terms buying these cars.
Well, I think there are some players in the lending sector that are loosening their guidelines. I would suggest that the vast majority of players are not. But it could be some.
Let me find it.
But it could be that some of the biggest are the ones that are. But yeah, if you look at that article, the vast majority of respondents said they were not loosening their guidelines. But there are some who are. I'll be the first to tell you, well, the dealers are going to seek out those who are, not those who aren't. So those lending institutions, the ones that are lowering the requirements to some degree, will probably find that they're getting more loans pushed in their direction moving forward.
Yeah, this was the survey that the Federal Reserve does.
Yes.
The headline was banks loosened auto lending standards in Q3. 46 auto lenders polled held auto lending standards constant during the quarter, but 5 lenders, 4 of which the Fed considered large banks, said they eased up, quote, somewhat, and 1 large bank had loosened, quote, considerably. Only 1 large bank had tightened standards somewhat. The Fed classified the results as a modest net expansion of credit to consumers. So there's no opinion here. This was a survey from leaders at these different financial institutions.
Yeah, well, I get that, but 46 said no. Yeah. So like, the vast majority are not.
It's just a better headline.
Yeah. It's the big ones. Some of the big ones that are. It's automotive news. Automotive news is no different than you when it comes to clickbait. Okay, the headline says they're loosening their credit guidelines. Well, no, the vast majority are not, but there are some who are.
And so let's read through it. So of those asked about specific policy changes and another series of questions, most of the banks that responded reported no change during the third quarter. However,
However,
3 banks
yeah,
described easing somewhat on the loan lengths they'd accept. 9 banks, including 6 large institutions, narrowed the spread somewhat between the interest they paid and the interest they charged customers, indicating a growing competitiveness on rates. Only one large bank said they had widened the spread. One bank said it reduced its down payment requirements. 4 banks, including 3 large ones, said they had somewhat lowered the minimum credit score they'd accept. One large bank had actually tightened that somewhat. And one large bank and one other bank said they were somewhat more open to auto loans to customers who didn't meet the bank's credit scoring threshold. So yes, you're 100% right. The majority of financial institutions maintained their like levels of
yeah, but the difference is if that was the headline, you wouldn't have clicked on the article.
Yes, true.
Yeah, so automotive news is no different than you, and most other entities today trying to rely on internet traffic to get people to read stuff or to tune into our show. It's the biggest star in Hollywood today is
Hmm.
clickbaity. Okay.
Well, why don't we hit on one of the other leading news items today? There's actually 2, but they're both EV related, so let's hit on them. We've got
Yes.
news out of Ford. They've got so much demand for some of their new EVs,
Yes.
specifically the Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning, that they're actually going to delay production of their Explorer and Aviator
Oh,
EVs. So the story at Ford stays the same. It's like one step forward. We will call this 2 steps back, but they're struggling. They're struggling to keep up and actually hit some of the goals that they've set out there in terms of EV adoption.
well, you might not call it 2 steps back, but if they're delaying the production of, what is it, the, Navigator,
It's going to be the Aviator and the
the
Ford Explorer.
Aviator, and the Explorer. So those vehicles were supposed to be built and come out sometime in 2022.
Yep.
Okay? And so if you don't think this is 2 steps back, then I'll say, okay, you should expect to see them in 2024. That's You're right. That might be more like 3 or 4 steps back. Okay. The point is that they all have these huge plans. And when I say all, I don't mean just Ford. I think every major legacy manufacturer has these huge EV plans
Oh, we've
and
done the video. We've
yeah,
done the
and
research. That's crazy.
and projections of sales, that they're not going to be able to hit because they don't have the capability of producing the requisite number of vehicles that they're basing all these projections on. Ford is now scrambling to try and figure out where they're going to build these aviators and these explorers, whether it'll be in 2 plants in the United States or a 3rd plant in Canada, because they're switching all of their electric vehicle production in Mexico to the Mach-E,
Yeah.
and then I guess eventually to the Lightning that has 200,000 reservations already.
And
So
the justification for where they decide to build these vehicles is partly influenced by the federal tax credits, which are
that
no longer going to pass in the Build Back Better bill that was not passed by the Senate. But it was interesting. I mean, part of the automotive news article, like it explicitly says here, picking either Flat Rock or Ohio Assembly would let buyers of those vehicles qualify for up to $4,500 in extra government tax credits, because the government tax credits had a $4,500 hook on it that they had to be built unionized plants in the United States. Now that
yes.
that's out of the window, maybe there are. It's fascinating, the dynamics here, and how the hell you're supposed to determine what you're going to do is beyond me. With all these different pieces up in the air.
Here's the good news. It's beyond them as well. Okay. And realistically, it's beyond anybody to know, because if those in government can't make up their minds, well, then how's business supposed to react to that? And that's what gets lost in this equation all the time, is that big businesses are waiting to see what government bills are going to get passed.
And trying
And
to influence them.
well, yeah, absolutely, because Toyota and a lot of the non-unionized plants that would be building EVs were totally against the $4,500 in additional incentives for vehicles being built in unionized plants in the United States. So you have so many competing interests that we end up in like just a standstill where nothing gets done. Everything gets talked about. Okay.
It's a lot easier to talk about things, man.
Yeah,
A lot
there's
easier.
a lot of conversation, but there seems to be no end to the conversation, and so I don't know how any business is supposed to plan on what the future is if the government is not in a position to help create that plan.
Let's take a peek here at what Mario put in the chat. Looks like Ford is limiting allocations of the Lightning, and dealers are now asking people on wait lists to pay additional dealer markup if they want one of the few priority spots or to be removed from the wait list. This is eerily. This reminds me of, and maybe it was with the Lightning or it was with another vehicle that had a wait list on it. It was the Bronco. Remember, there were these
Yes.
people who were on the Bronco wait list, and then next thing you know, they're showing up at the dealership, and the price is now considerably higher.
Yes.
It's gonna be the same exact story. It's
Yeah.
going to be the same exact story.
Yes. It is greed at its finest. It
Yeah.
is the epitome of greed at a time of year when greed should be thrown out the window. But you know, who are we to say? But it's unfortunate that Ford has created such strong interest in these vehicles that they are unable to produce in the quantities that they need, so that those who get them are going to be paying a ton extra for them.
Want to mention, because we've got a comment here. I'm hoping the Nissan Aria isn't going to be as popular. LOL. Just going to share my screen for a second here. I'm going to go. We'll take this Ford article, and I'm actually going to jump back over to the Join YAA website. Got to give a huge shout out. If you go to resources and then blog, we have Justin on our team, who is just incredible when it comes to writing EV content. Where is it? Scroll down. Trade. And oh, I forgot to create the EV section, so I'm just going to search for it right here. Aria. He wrote a great review of the Aria. I guess we haven't even published it yet. Anyway, it's coming soon because I reviewed it just the other day. But you can see he writes these really in-depth reviews. They're pretty good. So anyway, Nissan Aria review coming soon. Sorry.
Yeah, be on the lookout, ladies and gentlemen. And when it is available, Zach will be the first one.
I'm almost as bad as Ford, man. I'm almost as bad as Ford.
Well, you have to learn to under promise and over deliver instead of over promise and under deliver. Really? You gotta be kidding me.
Okay, Pop. So I just want to take a second here and let's jump into what's going on with our friends over at Carvana. And we saw it from Jordan in the chat earlier. Also, Carvana, Rivian getting hammered in the stock market today. We had the news come out of the great state of Florida. Typically, the news stories that come out of Florida are pretty newsworthy. This one is right up there with it. Carvana is on the precipice of getting their dealer license revoked in the state of Florida because of all the title issues. This is now, I guess, the fifth state, because there's North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan. I think they've got some ongoing issues in Texas. There's a class action lawsuit that I was reading about that's being filed against Carvana. It's a really, you got to be kidding me situation. And I thought I'd put you on the spot here. I know we were doing some filming earlier, but we'll talk about those stock prices in just a second. But you can't get people titles to cars. You don't have a business.
Well, not if you're in the car selling business. Right now they're in the we're going to sell you a car, but you're not going to legally be able to drive it after the first 30 days. That's not the right side of the car selling business to be in. Last time I checked, that would be like being in the horse rental business, and they give you the saddle, but they just don't give you the horse.
So take a peek at this, Pops. You know, I always talk to you about the stock market is a forward-looking tool, right? It's like value the future. Let's go for the past 6 months. This is Carvana's stock. It's down 30%. 30%.
Good for them. It should be down more.
I mean, when you go to then let's go to BBB, Carvana. Let's see. Yeah, it keeps going down. I feel like when we filmed a video on this, it was like 2.25. Now it's down to 2.07. Yeah.
In their case, it's mostly title issues.
Here's a 3-star one. That's good.
That's good for them.
Then let's look at Vroom, Dad.
Yeah.
Vroom, over the past 6 months, their stock is down a whopping 75%. 5%. The Vroom reviews over on BBB, there's actually a consumer advisory against Vroom, warning you of the different challenges that you're going to
Yes.
face there. So, I mean, this is pretty indicative. Yeah, if you're in the car selling business, but you can't actually get people to drive their cars, that business model doesn't check out.
It doesn't. And there's no reason that a business like Carvana, which they have been in business since 2012, and they were um, their heritage is drive time, which has been
Yeah.
in business a lot longer than that. Um, there's no reason that they don't have the processes in place to be able to provide titles to customers once they sell them the cars. And the only reason they can't provide titles to customers when they sell them the cars is because they sell the cars before they have the title in hand, which you're not supposed to do. Most states, and Florida is one of these states, they give the dealer 30 days to be able to provide their customer with the title. And Carvana, and I believe it's 116 cases that have been filed against them so far
In Florida.
in Florida, have they have been unable to do that. And their idea of resolution at this point for
Just
people
buying
who
them back.
by unwinding the car deals, buying them back. Now, when you do that, are you paying back the interest to the people that they paid for these cars that in many cases they had to leave parked because they didn't have legal tags on the vehicle to drive them because Carvana was just issuing temporary plates that weren't really legal. There's just so many violations involved here that you would think a business of this size should have been able to come up with the proper processes and practices so that they wouldn't find themselves in this position. These are the type of things that, as they linger and as they grow, that can actually cause a business that had, at least on paper, looked to be successful, well, to fail. And these are not like giant banks. These Carvana and Vroom are not too big to fail. They could fail, and they can fail because of their business practices, because they don't live up to the laws of the states in which they're selling cars.
Jay Nagamy in the chat. I have to sell my car to Carvana before they're out of business. My dad and I were chatting about this before we went on. It'd be fascinating to see over the next few months what happens to their offers to buy cars, just as
Yes.
their stock price continues to ebb and flow, and also as the market, of course, continues to hopefully normalize a little bit. But let me
Well,
show you this. Oh, go ahead, Pops.
I was just going to say, at a certain point, they might want to try and conserve cash and some
Yeah.
liquidity, because they're going to have huge fines to pay.
I mean, so look at this review. This is just, we don't advocate either way. Just make
Yeah.
informed decisions. This is from JK. I do not recommend buying a car from Carvana. We got our car in October of 2020. It is now December of 2021, over a year, and we still do not have plates on our car because Carvana can't seem to get the registration done. It has been a month since we filed a complaint with the BBB for Carvana to finish the job, and we still do not have plates. We have done our part. Carvana is very wrong in what they are doing and lack thereof. We have received temporary tags from many variety of states from Carvana, but if we get pulled over, I don't have the necessary legal document to provide. I feel like I'm driving a stolen car. I cannot believe they currently have an A- rating from the BBB. This issue is happening with an enormous amount of people, and some are even filing lawsuits. No one should ever have to go through what we are dealing with when buying a car. And honestly, class, gosh darn it, class
You
act.
got to learn how to spell.
You don't have to look that far. There are class action lawsuits against Carvana right now.
Yes, they literally, they should be ashamed of themselves.
You're right. There has been so much momentum on the Carvana Vroom path of you don't have to buy the car from the dealership. Remember Vroom, the Super Bowl ad last year, I think it was?
Yeah.
This could be the death of this business model. They grew too fast. They got so screwed up in terms of actually getting people driving in their cars, and they go out of business. It's It's unbelievable to me that the core function is to actually sell people cars, and they've gotten so good at buying cars, so good at reconditioning cars.
Well, I don't know about that.
Good
They
enough.
No, I don't even know about that. I mean, they rely on their warranty company to
Yeah,
basically
Silver Rock,
recondition the
yeah.
car after the customer has purchased it, not prior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, Dad. You're actually really like they sell the car with the warranty. You buy it with the issues, then you get the issues fixed back at the anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. The title takes 10 business days to arrive, but they sell the cars without the title. They should wait to list the 100% they should wait.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bankruptcy will take care of the loss and debt and give them a clean slate similar to Hertz. Yeah. All sorts of stuff.
But bankruptcy could destroy that business model because the negative press surrounding people like Carvana or Vroom going bankrupt because they were unable to provide their customers with legal title to their vehicles could be so enormous that they wouldn't dare try to go back in the business again.
Sam here is saying it sounds like Zillow Homes. Did you ever hear about that, Dad? What happened with Zillow?
What, they bought homes and then they were going to sell them real quick or something? I don't know.
Yeah, because we had in the chat here from Turbo, if Carvana goes under, do you think they will have a fire sale? Essentially, Zillow was in the home buying business. They were going to flip them and make a profit. They built up all these algorithms and models to do that. And there's a famous tweet now. It was a gentleman who said he sold his house to Zillow.
Yeah.
It was the buyer. It was like for $500,000 or something like that. And a week later, they offered to sell it back to him for $350,000.
That doesn't sound like a successful business model. If you ask
I
me.
wonder if we'll see that with Carvana.
May I say something? When I took a hiatus from the retail automobile business and I went into the retail golf business. Yeah. My biggest sale day ever was the first day of my going out of business sale. Okay. So it's amazing how much you can sell when you're going out of business. I'll just leave it at that.
So I'll leave folks with, if you haven't already, we just launched last week back at joinyaa.com, our vehicle search. So go ahead, give it a try if you haven't already. Pops, name a car. Let's name a car.
Ford Bronco.
Ford Bronco. You want 2-door, 4-door sport?
I'm a sporty kind of guy.
All right, there you go. Vehicle search, use YAA instead of AutoTrader. Use YAA instead of CarGurus. Why? Why should you use Y? Because it's got the same features, got the same functionality, right? You want to look at different makes, models. You want to see how long it's been on the market. You can actually sort and filter by that. And my favorite part about this, Pops, when you click on a vehicle, you get all sorts of help from you, Miss Kimberly Klein, and Mario. Our 4-step buying guide is the only call to action. There's no dealer lead gen form. You can see what your estimated taxes and fees are going to be, know what to watch out for as well. When the dealer hits you with a $3,000 extended warranty, you can just say no, or you can come back here and you can buy it for half the price from us. And you can see all of the price history and supply information down here as well. Best part about all this, Pops, if you are going to reach out to Coons Falls Church Ford, click on that 4-step buying guide.
Yes.
Log into your account. And use those email templates. They're right here for you. We even give you some trade-in support as well. Join YAA.com. Take a peek at that. Thank you to the whole team for working so hard to get this created.
Absolutely. They've done a phenomenal job in such a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you saying that, Pops.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
Well, another daily news you can use in the books. Tomorrow we have Jared Kalfas and Laura Wehunt from Black Book joining us. Jared, congratulations to him, got a promotion. He was the vice president at Black Book. Now he's the president. He's the main guy over there, and he's still giving us time. I'm really excited about that.
I can't tell you, I haven't met with very many presidents in my time. But most of them don't have the time for you. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the fact that even though Jared was recently promoted to that position, that he's not forgetting us little guys and still giving us the time that he promised. It speaks volumes as to what kind of person he is.
And if you have specific questions for Jared and Laura, what's going to happen in the used car market, start tossing them in the chat, put them in
Yes.
the comments, talk to us in the community forum. We'll just be interviewing them tomorrow. We'll do our best to get out of the way and just hear their insights. Andrew's got a quick question for us, Pops, and then we'll sign off. Does your search website facilitate looking for a car without a given feature, like without a sunroof? It does not right now, Andrew. That's a cool function, though. That's a cool idea. If that's something that's valuable, I'll bring it up to the team. So thanks for sharing it.
I like that question.
It's a very good one. All right,
Yes.
Pops. Well, thank you as always for your time. And Jordan, you are right. 160 viewers is a record for a weekday. I'm glad you're keeping track. That's pretty cool. Congrats,
Well,
Pops.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping track, Jordan. And thank you for being here every day.
See you guys. See you tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow.
Love you, Pops.
Yep. Love you too, honey.